Hello and welcome to Back of the Net and Beyond. My name's Danny Thomas. Today I'm going to be speaking to former teammate Derek Asamoah, who previously played for Shrewsbury Town, Nice, Lokomotiv, Sofia, and he was a Ghana international as well. How's it going, Dave? You okay?
Yeah, how's it going? I'm good. Thank you.
Good, man.
Just
Long time no
relaxing.
see.
Pardon?
Long time no see.
I know it's been, God knows, was it Shrewsbury time? Last
Shrewsbury, yeah,
time,
I was there for probably a couple
yeah,
of months.
2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time,
Long time.
man.
Yeah.
We're both still looking fresh. I know we both share the same birthday, May the 1st, so we're hitting 40 soon.
Bro, next year, big 4-0.
I'm actually looking forward to it. I know a couple of my mates have just turned 40 and that, and a few a bit older. And like, yeah, for me, I don't, as long as I feel young and I kind of look
That's it.
young, then I'm okay with it.
That's it, bro. As long as you're looking after yourself, but it's still a milestone, you get me? And it's still like, wow. It feels like yesterday when we like first started playing football and stuff. And one thing that sticks in my mind when I think about those times and when I first started playing professional, there was a couple of players there that were coming towards the end of their career and they were always like, oh, I'm an old man. And I'm thinking, right, why are you even talking like that? You're still a footballer, but every run you make, oh, I'm old. I'm thinking, I'm a young man, and I thought I have all the time in the world. And believe it or not, I'm starting to talk like that player as well. And it's just crazy how time just flies and how you think that you're gonna stay at the same like age or the same forever, and it just comes and goes so quick, innit?
We're still young though. We're still young in life.
Yeah, definitely in life. Yeah, definitely.
I do resonate with what you're saying. Because I remember like when we were 18, 19, 20, and you'd look at the older players and they were like 29, 30, 31, and you'd think like, they're proper old. When in theory, they're still young.
They're still very, very young. Halfway through their working life, innit?
Exactly. But yeah, appreciate you coming on today. You mentioned up there you've seen a few of the podcasts and that, so obviously you know what they're about. But yeah, it's mainly just to kind of it's talking about your transition away from playing football and obviously your retirement process. Want to touch on your career a little bit as well. So I know you had like a decent career, played at different levels. Obviously, I played with you, so I know what you were like as a player as well. So yeah, appreciate you coming on. Just let us know kind of what you're doing at the moment. Like, what's your kind of employment situation?
I started my own clothing line about a year and a half ago, which I really started it, which I've got a t-shirt on right now. I really started it as a passive passion. I didn't really look to it I think it was more to pass time because I wasn't really sure what I'm going to go into next. So I was using it not to wasn't looking at it for something that's to sustain me or to earn a decent income from it. I was just doing it to pass time, and and it's gone really well. I'm really enjoying doing it. But that's just something on the side. But my main source of income is probably from properties, because when I played, I tried to buy a property wherever I moved to. So I've got a few properties that I'm managing, and I bought a couple from auction as well that I'm trying to get into repairing it and either renting it or putting it back on the market. So that's what I'm looking to do. But I was looking to do that a few years ago, but life happened, and I went through a lot of turbulent time, so that had to be put on hold because there was a whole lot of issue with that. That was right after I finished playing football as well, so that was like I couldn't even enjoy my retirement and stuff like that, so I had to deal with that. But now I'm slowly trying to build that back up again and get that side going again.
That sounds really exciting. And again, property, I'm in that industry. I actually work in that industry, and that was kind of what I transitioned to from when I was playing football. So I initially started working in an estate agent, and I was there for circa 7.5 years, working for different companies. And then I've recently just changed jobs, and now I'm working for it's like a property tech stroke software company. We provide like we provide data. It's basically all within a platform to people like yourself or kind of developers, property investors, and we've got clients like Lidl and Aldi, and so it's a good industry to be in, and it sounds exciting. And you mentioned that kind of you tried to buy a property for basically wherever you were playing. So for me, in my head now, I know you play for loads of clubs, so you must have loads of properties.
Only in England, I got a few because I've always I wasn't really big on the pension thing, and I didn't really feel so I rather invested my money in properties. Like my first contract I had when I first signed pro, I signed for Northampton Town. I was just turned 20, and they were literally paying me peanuts, like something like £200 a week or something, something silly like that in my first contract. But I was excited to be a pro. Do you know what I mean? And I could have probably been earning more doing normal work, but it's I got my foot inside the door, so I'm not going to complain. But what I did was they also included, I think, £500-600, something like that, a month for rent, location fee or something, relocation fee. They include that a month. So I said to myself, instead of renting somewhere, I might as well buy a house with it. That will cover the mortgage, and I'll get one of my teammates to rent a room of me as well. And that's how literally I got started in a property game.
That's clever, mate. So you're saying around 20 years of age, you have that mindset. That's clever because obviously you're talking about a relocation fee. So normally, for those that don't know, when a player moves from, say, their upbringing, their area of kind of birth, so let's say you're born in London, and then you're moving to, say, Northampton. Obviously, you're not going to travel that distance on a daily basis to train and play. So the club normally gives you like a bursary, so a relocation fee, and that allows you to then go and find a property to rent. But you turned that on its head, and you said you were looking at, you essentially went out and bought one, paid the mortgage, and that relocation fee, used your head on top of that, and got a teammate to come in and kind of let a room from you. That's really clever because, I mean, I'm not saying that no one else has ever done that, but the players that I came across, they always just used to use that fund to maybe buy some items to go in.
Buy a car, or
even put that towards a car,
I totally get it, and especially the amount of money I was getting paid, it wasn't like, so to have that mindset was a really blessing, and I'm not going to take all the credit for it because my dad did have an input in the way he's always talked to me about like properties, and I always remember, like, he always used to tell me, if you rent, you're losing money, but if you buy a property, and I was making money from it as well. My mortgage was covered, and I was making money from my teammates as well. So
I mean, it's a good industry to be in. For one, it's sustainable across the board. For the simple fact that people will always need accommodation, whether it be a room
100%.
or a house to buy or to rent, or an apartment or a flat to buy or to rent. So regardless of what's happening across the economy, people will always need to move.
People always, 100%.
And again, I know for a fact, I'm working in the industry now, and people assume that because of COVID and the situation that we're in, people aren't moving or people don't want to buy land or whatever, but in fact they do. And the normal 100%. Investor who's made all their money previously, this is where they jump in and capitalize on the market, because it's going to be a lot cheaper than it would be if it was like a hot market. So you've used your head there, and it's, again, I find it really exciting in terms of like property and stuff like that. And you mentioned, again, you've got the clothing line, so that's a kind of, you said that's a bit of a side hustle. But I remember you were always someone who liked your clothes and stuff. So naturally, I'd assume you'd probably fall into something along those lines anyway. And you mentioned it was just a bit of fun initially, like kind of just to occupy your time. And then you said it's kind of gone past that now. So how was that side of it for you? Like how did you get involved in that? Because I know the clothes business kind of, people always talk about, oh yeah, well I want to go into it, but then it seems like a really like hard industry to crack. So how do you navigate that?
It's really it's a tough industry to crack. But the reason why I went into it, because I had a bit of a platform, and it was called Fresh Ballerz, and it was basically, I started off more for my kids, because they were the one that are called Fresh Ballerz. They had an Instagram account with nearly like over 50,000 followers on there. So they had an audience there already. So I just made a prototype kind of thing for them to wear. Why? Because they do football tricks and football drills and whatever on there. And a few comments was like, oh, I like your tracksuit. Where's it from and stuff. And so the idea started coming to my head, like, why not try and get our own clothing line and call it Fresh Ballerz, and get them to model it and get them to like be the face of it and sell it to these people asking about it. So that's what we initially did, and it started off was really good, and we had loads of sales. But like you said, it's really if you're inexperienced, it's really like difficult to get into, and it's something that if anyone wants to do it, you really need to do your homework, because at the start, the thinking behind it, if you think logically, you're going to go wrong, because like you naturally buy more stuff than what you need. Like before, I would buy for example, I would, instead of buying for extra large, it's not going to be that many people that are that size. So instead of buying less extra large, I bought the same amount of extra large, as the same as small, as medium, as stuff like that. And then you find out you sell out all their small, medium, and you got the extra smalls that are slower, and then you got the extra large that are even slower. But then, because no one's really that size, so you have to do your homework and make sure that you got all areas covered. Otherwise, it can be a really how can I put it? It could be a bad path to go, because it's so competitive as well. There's so many people doing it as well, and it's so but I had the audience to start with, so it wasn't like I was starting from like trying to promote it here and here. I had the following. I had like 25,000 on mine, and they had like, I think, 55,000 on there. So it was like 75.
That's good, because obviously that would naturally help when you've got the platform there, because you've already got an audience already that already kind of know what you're about. But again, you mentioned kind of the financial aspect there, where you kind of went in a bit blind, and you started buying double XLs kind of the same amount as, say, mediums and your generic large and smalls, which is normally kind of small, medium and large, actually kind of ballpark with regards to like clothing size. Then your double XLs and things like that, and your extra small is a bit less. So again, you'll end up with kind of dead stock, which is taking up storage space and things like that. That's what you don't want. But again, that's just a learning curve. Obviously, you've learned from that. But then what about the business side of it? Because obviously, it's fine drawing up these designs and having templates for like different types of clothes. But what about the build, like the company? Like obviously, you need to register the company house. You need to have the finance backing behind that, which I'm assuming you had already. But again, you hear these people where they say they started off with a certain budget, and then they've gone over that within a certain time frame a lot faster than they thought they would have. And then you've got the other aspects like tax and things like that. So did you get help with anything like that? Did you get any help initially? Like, to be fair, network as sports people anyway, but did you draw on any help from anyone?
To be fair, it was more like or less a one-man team, to be honest.
Oh.
So yeah, so I literally done the design. I literally sourced the supplier, material, done my own website, built the website from scratch, done my logo. What else? Set up the payments, set up the tax, set up like everything. Really, it was like a one-man show, and I had a lot of time, so I really enjoyed the challenge. And there was a lot of hidden costs, like shipping costs and duties and that you didn't really plan for. And there's little tricks which I learned, which I don't think I can really say on here. But there's little tricks to the trade where it could literally save you 50% and stuff like that I didn't know going into it first. That was costly, but if you do things certain ways, then you save a lot of money. You can use the money to do to even invest in more stock. But like I said, it's a learning curve, and you need to, before you even dive into it, because I just dived into it because all I knew is I had my audience and I could sell anything to them. Basically, that's what but you really need to do your research, and like if you want to go deep into it, like do your research and budget really well and stuff like that. Otherwise,
you're wearing a couple of bits there. I see you got the t-shirt and the cap on, so you want to show us? Yeah.
It's do like I sold like I sold all my stock and got restocking and like been selling really well.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Nice. Well, anyway, I'm waiting for mine in the post, so I'll send you my address afterwards.
Yeah. So send me it. You can wear instead of that. I'll send you one to wear.
Yeah.
Let your people know about it.
Yeah, I'll hold you to that. I'll send you my address.
Send me your address. I'll definitely. What color do you want? I think I've got navy. I got sky blue. I got this one. I've not got any more black ones.
Okay.
I've got grey. But the rest of them are gone. So
might go for grey or may go for navy. I'll let you know anyway.
Yeah, let me know.
Let me know. So in terms of you, obviously we know a little bit about what you're doing, and we'll touch on that kind of a little bit later on. But what was your retirement process like? How did you find your transition away from football?
It's like, I don't know if it's the same, but like some fortunate people can plan their retirement, so to speak. They can say like your David Beckhams, your Stevie G's, or what have you. They can plan their retirement. They can say, do you know what? Enough is enough. I've had enough of football. I want to stop at 35. I want to stop at 36 or whatever, and they stick to it. But I think with me, even to this day, I don't feel retired. You understand? I don't feel retired, even though I'm not playing active professional football.
Yeah.
I don't. If a club was to be like, yo, come and have a seat, I won't say no, I'm retired. I'll say, yeah, I can give you 10 minutes at the end of each game or something like that. I can, you know what I mean? So I don't feel, but even though I've been inactive professional for like just over 2 years, 2 years, I haven't really sunk in, and I haven't really put out the word that Derek Asamoah has retired or anything like that. But it feels like I'm retired, and I'm going through my daily life like I'm retired. But I still, even at 39, I've just signed for a semi-professional team, and playing for them now. I played like 3 or 4 games for them now, so it's keeping me really active. But it is really I found it really difficult when I had to when I couldn't. I think when I knew that I couldn't go back to professional football, it was really tough, because it's something you've known. Like I've never worked. I've never done any job apart from when I was like 18. I'd worked on a building site for like 2 months, and I I quit straight away because I knew it wasn't for me. And since 1920, I've never done any sort of work. So, and so I was thinking, what are my options? What am I going to be doing? You understand?
One second, phone's ringing. Sorry about that. That's never happened.
Busy man.
That just proves we are live. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was kind of a bit different because I was in control of it essentially. So it was kind of my choice. So that's probably why I felt it was a bit easier for me. Sounds like you're still like, if the phone rang tomorrow and someone said like, Derek, we're kind of League One, League Two, maybe even like conference, would you take it? Like, would you go for it?
100%. I would go for it. I just love the game, and I don't know how if the phone called today, I'll say like, give me 2 weeks. Let me see how I am, and I will definitely, I will never turn it down. I don't think I'll turn it down, because physically I can still do it, because I'm doing it for a team in a rhyming prem, so it's a good level. It's a good level, and so, but the only thing I can't really hack is the full-time training. I don't think I'll be able to cope with that too well. If like I could come in and train Monday and Friday, that'd be perfect for me.
Setting the rules already. So any managers out there or coaches, it's official now. Like, Derek Asamoah is available for signing. He can only come in twice a week, Monday and Friday, he said. So.
And Friday, that's it. And match days, I can't do 2 games in a week. I could do Saturday or Tuesday. That's it.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've kind of touched on it already, but like, did you have any plans or any kind of inkling with regards to what you were going to do afterwards? So when you're playing, you know, when you get to like 28, 29, and you're probably not going to get that break at like Championship or Premier League level.
Yeah.
Did you have any ideas that, okay, well, I like fashion, I may go into that industry, or I've got a few houses, I want to maybe push on further with that?
To be honest, I'm not gonna. I didn't have a clue what I was gonna do. I knew I had some properties, but apart from even with that, I didn't know if that was what I want to get into full time. And I with coaching and management, I didn't really feel that's my area. Hence I didn't take any of my coaching badges, which maybe I should have. Not that I want to go into coaching or management, but it should have been something. You know, I suppose I can still do it, but I don't think I'll utilize it. So I'm not sure. If it's worth me doing that. And apart from any career paths, I wasn't really. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really have a career path when I was younger coming into football. It wasn't like I was doing engineering or I was doing electrician or accountant, that I can go straight, like maybe try set up a business using some money I saved maybe while playing football, instead of going into clothing line. I could have set up my own accounting firm or something like that. I didn't really have anything like that, which I feel that I think clubs should do more. In fairness, they should be into players, because football, the career is so short, and after you're like lost, especially if you didn't save any money, substantial money or anything like that. It's a really it's like mentally, it's not good for the mind either, because people looked at you a certain way throughout your career, and then to finish, and then for someone to see you working in Tesco's, or to not that there's anything wrong with working in Tesco's, but it's very hard from where you've been, the highs you've been, and it'll be very, very challenging. So I think especially professional clubs should do more with the kids, speak to them, get them to have a side, something they're interested in, because when you're playing football, you think this is it, the life, you know. Before you know it, 15 years have gone by, and you're like, what's going on?
Well, I see. I mean, for me, like even when I was playing, I was always thinking, look, this isn't going to last forever. But at the same time, one thing I never really considered was at any point, especially how we played as players, like young and small and quick, and always like to get on the ball and dribble. People always wanted to like hack us down. So I never really thought about at any point I could have a career-ending injury, and if that did happen, I don't know what I would have done at that point. Obviously, I would have been disappointed. I still would have gone on to obviously continue the rest of my life and try and gain employment somewhere. But I never really had that thought. Whereas when it came to kind of retirement, I always thought when I got to 24, 25, look, I'm probably going to have to do something after work. So I knew, after playing, so I knew I'd have to work at some point. So that was
that's a good mentality, because that never crossed my mind, what you're saying now.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what helped me. And again, it's different for everyone, and it all depends on kind of the level you're playing at, and it can happen. People have difficulty, as we all know. You could be playing in the Premier League and sustain a career for 10, 15 years. When it comes to retirement, then what? It's a completely different ball game. So I think that from a player's perspective, you need to have that gumption yourself to maybe do something, and also you need to get some help maybe from parents. I think parents need some education. And also clubs need to integrate some kind of well-being kind of meetings, or some form of education, or where players got another outlook on life, essentially. Because again, we always talk about this and we say, look, clubs need to do more, or players need to maybe do more, but essentially a lot of it does need to come from the player, because clubs can do a certain amount and parents can't. If the player's not willing to listen or take heed or take action themselves, then no one else can really get involved in that.
The thing with me is that I would have listened 100%. I would have listened, but I don't think that the opportunity came where somebody came in and said, like, I knew, in the back of the mind, but when you're in that bubble, it's really hard to. But if someone sat there and just like gave you like a career, like say put this amount of money away, or try and invest in something, or try and I don't know, you know what I mean? Just get your brain thinking about other things apart from football. Then I feel like with people like me, I would have like definitely, if someone came to me and said, invest in this business, maybe in 5-10 years it's going to be successful business, or invest in one of your local businesses or something, and do you know what I mean, and have shares in it, or by the time you're retired, that company might be in a better position, and you got shares in different, because you're wasting a lot of money going out drinking. There's nothing wrong with that, like going out drinking, buying £500, £800 shoes and whatever, £1,000 watches and stuff like that. It's all nice, and like, even now when I have stuff in my wardrobe from like years ago. Yes, I had fun wearing it, but I look at it and I think, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What the hell? There was no, but you're just following the hype train, and sometimes instead of buying these, because
it's the environment you're in. So with me, I still like nice clothes to this day, and obviously everyone likes a nice car and whatever else. But for me, when I was doing that stuff, so when I was buying the nice clothes, I was always saving as well.
Okay.
So it's different. Again, like I'm not here to tell people how to like suck eggs and whatever. Like, you do what you think's right. But for me, like, you're saying that you wish you had someone come in maybe from an organisation such as a PA or PFA or whatever to educate you a little bit. But at the same time, you had that guidance from your dad. So at the age of 20, 21, you were buying property. That's massive. And obviously that's yielded for you now, because like 15, 20 years later, you've kind of got a portfolio of property. So that in itself is a career. And then you've obviously started a clothing line. So aside from you playing and not really knowing what you're doing afterwards, when it's come to that latter stage of your career, you've obviously gone out there for yourself and you've obviously navigated the property industry.
Yeah. But definitely, that's what you said. It's from my dad, of him saying I didn't know the value of it while I was doing it, even though before my friend moved in, and sometimes when the player moves out and you're trying to get, sometimes it stretches your pocket a bit, paying the mortgage. But I didn't know the value of what I was doing. All I knew was that property. I wasn't really that savvy to say that in 20 years. If you bought it for 100 grand, for example, it's probably going to be 200 grand or something. I didn't really know it deep enough to say that I've done something and I'm going to reap the rewards. I just know that I've done something and I'm getting a little change out of it right now, and everybody's telling me what I've done is good. Yeah. So when I do move, like went into my next club in Mansfield, I've done exactly the same thing. I bought a property there and rented out the one in Northampton. Lived in it, and when I moved out, the same cycle again, and rent it out. And so
that's really interesting.
And I was doing it by accident. It wasn't really like
by default, but it worked out well for you. And again, it's a really sustainable industry to be in, and it seems like it worked out well for you. But like you touched on something a bit earlier where you said like maybe players want to be educated with regards to investing in certain businesses or whatever. So we've heard this story before where like people have invested money and stuff and it's not worked out. It's turned out a scam, or the company's just folded, and the people have lost a lot of money, and it's still happening to this day. So it's one of those things, as sports people, we're always skeptical when it comes to like new people coming in and telling us things, and it's about trust essentially. And sometimes you put your trust in these people and it just doesn't work out. Again, it's a bit of a gamble to a certain degree. And even with property, when I was 21, I bought my first property, and it didn't work out for me, and that was no fault of my own. A bit of it was a bit of bad advice, not from family members, just from like the financial advisor who kind of was going through my finances and stuff at the time. Me being stubborn, again, 21. But at 21, you think, okay, it's time to move out. And looking back now, 21 is still really, really young. So I could have still stayed at home for another 3 or 4 years, or maybe longer, and saved up some more money, whatever. But that's hindsight. At the same time, one of the main downfalls for me when I bought mine was in and around the first kind of financial crisis, I think back in around 2007-ish. The club I was playing for, they were going through financial difficulty. So it started off by, you've probably been through this yourself, them paying you late. So then you're late on mortgage payments and stuff like that. And then it went from that to them not paying us at all. And that lasted for like 6 or 7 months or so, maybe longer. So me being a young man, 21, 22, going through that as well. So it was tough times. And as you can see now, we're in a situation where people are unemployed, people have lost their jobs, people who have had sustainable careers. 6 or 7 months lockdown, and then now these companies have gone bust and whatever. So, and these are major companies. So if you imagine that, and me in that situation, a lot of other people as well. So it just depends really. And again, there's no kind of right or wrong, but I always think now looking back as an athlete, like maybe we could have had a bit more guidance from organisations such as the PFA. Maybe their delivery could have been a bit more kind of up to date, a bit more positive, because it was always about kind of, okay, well, there's only 1% that are going to make it, or whatever the figure is, and then what you're going to do afterwards. Oh, and here you go, here's some leaflets. And it's like, as a player, I don't really want to hear that. It's like, I'm training, I'm in a situation where I'm kind of doing well, the manager likes me, training at a decent level, playing, so I'm trying to make it. You're not really necessarily thinking about, okay, what if you don't? So maybe, I don't know, maybe their delivery needed to change. I don't know if it changed.
It needs to 100% change, and the delivery needs to change, because like you said, giving out leaflets and just saying like the customary or only 1% will make it, and just go and do education or make sure that's not really enough. You need to really sit them down and open their mind, like get deep into these players' head, and make them realize that there's more to you know what I mean? There's more to, especially nowadays with Instagram and like I've already, because my son, he just turned 18 the other day, and obviously he was at Reading since he was 9, and he got released at like 16 or something like that, and he wants to go back into football, and like I'm already like teaching him the value of like not just putting all your eggs in one basket. I'm already telling him that, especially with the age of social media, like get your following up. Do you know what I mean? You can, there's loads of side things you can do that can earn you along with football. That's not going to be destructive to your football. That can earn you a second, third, or even a fourth income without you actually physically doing much. And definitely 100%, he will once he gets that professional contract, he will be investing in properties 100%. And he will have like
I was saying it's a good lesson to give, and obviously you've got that experience as well. So if you can see that you, as his dad, has done it, then normally people will be receptive to that, just because someone's saying this is what you should do. I've done it, so I know it works.
Yeah. So, go on.
I was going to say, so I mean, I did touch on the PFA, and I'm not saying that the PFA aren't doing a good job, because they are. They've been around for many years, and it's a tough one for them. Sometimes I feel like they get a bit of stick, but they definitely can do a lot more.
No, I don't have a good relationship with them. I don't. I've needed them and they've let me down, so I'm not really want to speak on that too much.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is what we want to hear, because if you're saying that, then obviously it backs up kind of what I'm saying, whereby, again, it's okay, the PFA being there for kind of the players who've got a bit of a profile, and when there's a problem, they're on TV and they're kind of backing that player. That's all well and good, but for every player with a profile that's got a problem, there's a player who...
They don't care, because I had an issue with when I went to play in South Korea. The first thing, there was 2 issues. One, with my signing on fee. I signed the contract. They said how much I was going to get the signing on fee. So, because I was moving from Bulgaria to South Korea, you know what? I felt the transfer, they were going to send them the money to Bulgaria, and then the Bulgarian club Lokomotiv Sofia to pay me. But the experience I had with Lokomotiv Sofia, that my payment was late sometimes. Sometimes I didn't even get paid sometimes. So I said to the South Korean club, no, let's do another contract whereby you keep a certain amount of the transfer fee, so that you can give to me directly, instead of it going to Bulgaria and then them breaking my bit and give it to me, because I will never see that money. So anyway, everything's done, all contracts signed. Bulgarian clubs agreed, Korean clubs agreed. Now it's time to like pay me the transfer fee. So the club I was at in South Korea, Pohang, was telling me that that Lokomotiv Sofia said that they didn't sign the document, so they want the money back, the sign-on fee. They want Pohang to pay the sign-on fee to them instead of to me. And they're like, we'll pay to Lokomotiv, and they will break me like half of it or something. I said, no, that is not the case. Everything's in writing. So it was messy. So I called the PFA and was like, yo, this is the situation. I need help out here, because these guys are trying to the contract's clear as day. The Korean clubs have agreed to give me the money, but I just need some muscle. I just need somebody with authority or something just to back me up, to say that I've got someone in my corner. If anything, you know what I mean, they can contact FIFA, or they can do whatever. I got nothing, no help from them, no nothing. They just like said I need to find a lawyer in Korea, or I need to do this, I need to do that. And they literally just left me to it. And I was so shocked now, so disappointed in them.
That must be a hard situation to be in, because obviously, so you're outside of like the UK, you're in a foreign country, presuming you're probably on your own, and you've obviously got this legal battle going on between two big clubs as well. And obviously, you want someone from a legal perspective, like the PFA, someone within there to maybe help you. You're saying that they didn't. So again, this is another thing that it's not just about, say, retirement. It's about kind of what's happening with players when they're playing, and again, people naturally lose trust. So if that happened again,
lose trust, because
playing,
that was the second. That was the second situation I had with the PFA. The first one was when I went to OGC Nice in the south of France, when I signed like a 3-year contract with them. And like when I was there, I literally, like the first 3 or 4 months, I was like literally so stressed out. I was like, I even got an appointment for the doctors to prescribe some stuff for me. They had heart monitors on me to assess me and stuff like that, because of the treatment I was getting from the manager, especially the manager, and in France. It was absolutely horrible. It was borderline. How can I put it? Bullying, and bullying, because like after 3 weeks I was there, he's like, if you don't learn how to speak French, don't bother come training. And he'll be saying it in front of everyone, and he'll be explaining stuff to me in French after a few weeks, and knowing full well that I don't understand. And then he'll be like shouting, and it was horrible. Then he'll be like, you don't understand nothing, go away. It was like really tough the first 3 or 4 months. So I found the PFA, and I was trying to get some help, because like mentally I was like, I didn't know how to handle it. And I felt like if it was any other line of work, like in the office or anything, no one should be able to get that sort of treatment. So I phoned them and was like, yo, what do I do? I'm getting, can I get some help out here? I'm getting really mistreated. And again, nothing. They didn't offer anyone to speak to me on the phone. They just said that I'm in France, so it's going to be hard for them to do anything for me, which I felt that because I played in England for how many years before? 7 years before I went, and I was paying into it. Do you know what I mean? And just because I'm outside, it doesn't mean that you can't provide me with. So I literally had to battle through it on my own to a point where I could start playing football again. That was really, really disappointing. So it left a really bad taste in my mouth with the PFA. So
naturally would do. And again, this is one thing that I've said before. So again, everyone's got their own experiences with the PFA. I mean, mine was okay to a point. Never really had to draw on them for anything really. But yeah, I mean, I always feel that they're always kind of more so there for the players at the higher end of the football pyramid. And the ones like us who maybe had a career in kind of League 2, League 1 and below, is kind of, we don't really hear or see much of them. And again, I've got this information from a lot of different people, from kind of when I've retired and also when I was still playing. So I know what I'm saying is true, and I'm only telling my personal experience anyway. So again, it all depends. I just think more needs to be done. But I want to touch more on, again, like the retirement side of things. Do you think, like, from a player's perspective, again, we're obviously going to talk about football because that's what we used to play, but talking a generic kind of sport life now, from a sporting perspective, do you think that kind of retirement needs to be seen in a different light, like approached in a different way? Because a lot of times when we spoke about it as players, it was always seen as a negative. I know, like, when people are asking me, it was always like, oh, like, more so when people are talking to you as a sports person and they're not from a sporting world, the question would be, oh, like, what are you going to do afterwards? And it's like, I'm not a stupid person, and I know that I'll be able to find a job. What that job is going to be, I don't know. But it was always a negative question. It was never, oh, like, what are you going to do to help people afterwards? Because that's the same question, but it's just asked in a different way. So I don't know what your experience was.
My experience, I didn't really, because of my experience with them already, so I didn't really bother with the PFA, so to speak, because I know that they're not going to be there for me. I think they need to readdress the way they do things a bit. I think they need to install it into these up and coming footballers. Like even I know they like my son, when he was playing for Reading, they have talks, and I asked him, what did you talk about? And he said, oh, you always have to have a plan B. And like, is that, what's your plan B? Is that, I don't know. So they didn't really give you any like options, any things that can relatable to football, or something that you can get. All they say is you need to have a plan B. Like you said, again, only a certain percentage of you guys are going to make it. But I feel that's not enough. I feel a lot more needs to be done. A lot more focus needs to be on the things people can actually do for when they do retire, or when they don't actually make it into the professional game, because that's when a lot of people are depressed and because they have they are lost, they have no direction. It's not the PFA's fault, but they can do a lot. They can do a lot to help people see different sides. Like you said, you had a good experience. My experience, I didn't really think about retirement until the lucky thing for me, indirectly, I was involved with properties.
Yeah.
So that was a lucky thing that happened by accident, not by knowledge or by education. It just happened by a stroke of luck that I wanted to do that, and now it's paid dividends for me. But imagine the PFA actually speaking to their players and saying, listen, you get this much money, you get this much money for your relocation. Say you got about 5-6 grand. Why don't you use that to put down on a property, buy it out, rent one room out, whether to public or within the football, because football teams are always looking for places to put their young players, or the first pros or whatever. Do a deal with even when you move, because that I was lucky. I got a really good tenant, but I wanted to. I thought about speaking to Northampton to even do a 3-year rental deal with them, where they would take my house for and put, like, if they needed like players come for trial or whatever, they can stay there for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If the PFA explains stuff like that, I'm just talking about property, but if they explain things like that, I think the players will get it and say, do you know what?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. But also talk about it in other industries as well and make them understand it. And I think that 100% that the players will buy into it, because it's just an investment in your future.
Exactly.
When you, after 15 years, your career is over, you have equity in your in your property. You can sell it and use the equity to do whatever you want to do, and you're collecting rental income as well. And the problem is, people sometimes feel that if they're not working, they're not going to be able to afford a mortgage. But if you have tenants and you have good contracts in place, you're protected, and you've got good insurance in place, you're always protected. But I feel if the PFA or whatever body come in and educate players more, then I think the fear of retirement would be a lot, and people enjoy their football even more and not rush to make silly decisions because they feel that I need to earn money, or I need to do this before my career ends, and make rush decisions as well. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
I think the clubs have got a big responsibility as well, because you get these players from a young age. They start at kind of 9, 10, 11 or whatever. And I'm not saying at that age they need to kind of be thinking about a plan B, but certainly when it comes to starting your apprenticeship, there should be something in place to say, look, you need to go and do something. So you mentioned it there, where they should go into more detail with regards to the options out there. Just because as an athlete, you want something where you can physically see the end goal, or you can physically touch it. You want something tangible. So rather than just saying, here's a leaflet and there's like loads of reading, loads of text, and it just gets put on the side. And that's not just a disrespectful thing. It's just the way it is. But if you can actually break it down and say, look, you've got a property that's worth X, Y, and Z. You've got a certain amount of money that you can spend, and then you put that in, that's your deposit. And then obviously, if you get a tenant in, they can pay you the rent, and obviously that rent comes to the mortgage. And then going forward, 10, 15 years from now, continue to do that on an annual basis. The property paid for, it's now worth 50 or 60 grand or more than it was when you initially paid for it. Straight away, they can hear those numbers and they're thinking, where do I sign? How do I go about doing it? And that can be implemented across anything. So we're talking about property, but you can talk about like how to go and have a job interview to then work in an office, because we've all got transferable skills. Do you know what I mean? So we've all got resilience. We all know about timekeeping, communicating, things like that, decision making and things. That's all those things are naturally innate in us because we play football. You have to make quick decisions on the field, stuff like that. We're dealing with managers who change on a regular basis. So 1 minute you're in the team, next manager comes in, you're not even in the squad. So we're dealing with all those different emotions and facets within the game, and they're life skills that a lot of people who have come from school, they haven't got that. So we can actually go in and bring that to the team within the office or wherever it is. But some athletes don't know that, and that's what I was saying before with regards to how athletes approach retirement and their mindset, and kind of, it shouldn't be a situation of, well, what am I going to do afterwards? What are my friends going to think? Am I going to let my family down? And luckily for me, I never had any of those thoughts. I didn't really care what anyone else thought. I just knew that I need to find something that I think is sustainable and something that I could get up in the morning and think, I'm going to work, without kind of being embarrassed. Because there's always that element to it where you think, I don't want to be going to work and not necessarily not enjoying it, but just being embarrassed about where I'm working. And that's not being disrespectful to any industry or companies out there. It's just, that's just the way it is. So obviously I resonate with a lot that you've mentioned there, and it does make a lot of sense. But I want to touch on your career a little bit. I know you played at various different levels, mainly kind of the lower leagues, and then you had times abroad where you're playing at the top clubs in those countries like Bulgaria, and you mentioned France and kind of other clubs as well. So what was it like for you? Because I know you kind of fell into football indirectly. You were mainly playing kind of like Sunday League, non-league, and then you ended up going to Northampton. I think when I was at Leicester once, when I first met you, you came there for maybe a week or two. But yeah, how did you find it when you first kind of went to Northampton? Like, was it a big step up for you? How did you find like going into the dressing room for the first time and all those things that we always come across?
Do you know what? Because I was like you said, the first time I actually met you was when I was playing for a college team, and we played against, we had a friendly for some reason. I don't even know if you played in it. We had a friendly with Leicester City under 18s or under 17s or something like that. And I happened to score 2 goals in a friendly we played against Leicester. And they invited me to come there for a week, and I ended up doing really well. I played a first game, I think it was at the training ground for the under 18s, and I scored, and then they kept me another week, and then we played another game. This time was for the reserves against Wimbledon, and I came on the last 15 minutes, and I scored again. I scored the equaliser, I think. So it was really touch and go with Leicester. And the last game we played was against Charlton, where there was a bit of altercation with Stan Collymore and Trevor Benjamin in the changing room. I don't know if was you at that game?
Yeah, I was there. I was injured at the time, but I remember I was sitting in the stands watching it. I could see it kicking off.
Yeah. And that was the I think it was between me and there was a guy called Stevenson or something. Do you remember him?
Stevenson, yeah, Steve-O.
Yes, yeah, Steve-O, a striker there. I think, and I came off. I don't think I had a great game. I came off, and straight away when you got on, he banged in the top corner. So I just knew that was it really, because that's the first time that I really thought I was close to getting. So with that, when I went to Northampton, even though it was my first professional club, I still felt like I was a Premier League player that's coming down to League One they was in at the time. So I don't think the level was too, because I always like had massive, like, I don't know what it was, but I had massive belief in my own ability, and I just knew no matter what was in front of me, they weren't at my level, so to speak, or I felt that I've got a lot to prove and I ain't got time to be like starstruck or anything. I just want to get in there and fit in straight away, which I did. It's like my first season as president. I played every single game in the first year at Northampton, from the first game of the season to the last game of the season as well. So I don't think it was obviously facility wise and professionalism and stuff like that and I needed to, my mentality needed to change as well, because I'm in a professional environment, and the way I am outside of football as well, I need to be controlled by. In terms of like the changing rooms, I always felt that I belong there, so to speak, and I always felt that you guys should be talking about me. Like, give me 2 weeks, and you guys will be looking at me for inspiration and looking at me to get the goals and stuff like that. So that's how I approached my time at Northampton, even because I didn't sign for Leicester, so I was even from semi-professional or playing college football to there. I didn't feel what's the word?
Starstruck, intimidated.
Yeah, I didn't feel intimidated. I didn't feel out of my depth. I just felt that for some reason I need to be even higher. This is not even my level. I needed to be playing higher. Yeah.
That's a good mindset to have, and we all know sometimes it can be difficult to go into a dressing room, especially where sometimes you may not know any of the players. It's a bit easier if you know one or two, and you can kind of just like gravitate towards them, and then they kind of bring you into the group. But sometimes it's difficult, and regardless, those first kind of few games or first few weeks, regardless of if you've signed a contract or not, the players will just have you on trial, and they'll have you on trial on and off the pitch. So when I say on the pitch, obviously we know what we're talking about in terms of ability and what you bring into the team. But off the pitch, they're testing your character. You know what it's like. You wear like bad gear and stuff like that. Sometimes if you're not used to that environment where you know that if you wear something bad, it may get kind of thrown in the bin or hung up or whatever. So if you don't take that well, and if you react in a negative way, you can find yourself kind of outcasted. And I've seen that happen to many players. And on the flip side of that, and I always say this when I speak to kind of random people, and that I say, we've had players come into teams before and they've been brought in for like 100 grand or whatever, and that's quite a lot for like lower league football. But if they're coming on a free, and you're indirectly testing them and in training, if they ain't doing it, or if they're not doing it in games and that, I've seen players written off where they've actually gone and said, look, I can't stay here, I need to go. And it's not, they're not getting bullied. It's just like people are looking at them like, as if to say, come on, like, you meant to be like bringing something to the team and you ain't doing anything.
100%. It's a mental, because like football is a team game, but it's an individual game within a team environment. As I always say, and it's like, before you actually go out on the field, you have to battle. There's so many battles you have to win before you even get into the starting 11. You're battling with yourself. Are you up for training? Are you up for have you slept right, or have you done all the right things? And then when you get to train, you're competing with your teammates. There's players that want your spot. So whether indirectly, you have to be selfish and have to look after yourself. Yes, you talk but at the end of the day, you don't know someone's mentality or what agenda they have, whether you're in the way of their progress or they've set their sights and you're kind of like a blockage for them. So whatever means they need to do, whether it's mentally, battle, you know what I mean? It's a battle to get into.
It's a tough one. I lost you a little bit there, but I got the gist of what you're saying. But yeah, I was just literally saying, like, it's a dog eat dog world. It's tough, and like I said, I've seen people kind of just crumble under the pressure. It's one of those industries where you can't bring your external issues or problems to the table because no one's interested. If anything, if you like divulge anything with regards to like issues, family issues, or money or girl issues, they'll use it against you. They'll just use it against you. So, but yeah, I mean, I know it sounds like we're talking about the industry and berating it a lot, but we're not. We're just letting people know that, obviously, if you're not involved in it, you may see certain things and think, oh, that's how it works. But again, we're here to tell a story and explain to people, look, there's certain aspects that you may not be aware of. So it's just insight for people who are kind of not in the industry or haven't got any kind of links to it at all. But obviously, so you mentioned Northampton, you've done well there, and then I know you've kind of gone through like different leagues and you played at different clubs. You kind of did well at Carlisle and Shrewsbury. So is that kind of where you made your name? And I think you had a time in Costa as well.
I feel I made my name in, it was a time, like we said, we talk about mentality, football mentalities and the mental side of it as well. It was a time where I went to Mansfield from Northampton and it was all right until the manager got fired. And then new manager came in. A new manager came in and he didn't, for some reason, he saw that I was the guy and he wanted to bring me down a peg or two, and we ended up falling out massively. And he ended up putting me on a transfer list and said I will never play for Mansfield again. So he ended up loaning me out to Lincoln within the same season, which I played quite a few games for them. We got to the playoff final, and I ended up signing permanent for Lincoln. And then I went to Chester City on loan because the old Mansfield manager got another job at Chester. So I went over there to play for him, and then he got fired. He got sacked again. So the same story. New manager came in, Mark Wright, and he straight away totally throws me out. Not even in the starting 11, not even in the squad. I was at home and stuff like that. So it happened for about three or four, maybe a month that I wasn't playing. So it was like mentally, it was like really, really tough for me. I was in Wales somewhere and far from London, and I'm getting like no game time, and so that was really tough. And only thing that happened was one game, one of the strikers got injured, and he called me in and said, Derek, you have to come in and start from the cold. Listen, I went in there, played against Boston on a Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday night. Traveled the same day because I wasn't in the first squad, so I made my own way there. Got there, started the game, scored a hat-trick there. That time, Chester City was like bottom of the league. Like finished, they're bottom. They're like 6 or 7 points adrift with like 7 games left or something like that.
Wow.
And so I played that game. We won it. That's the first win in God knows how long. I scored a hat-trick or 3 goals. Then played the second game and scored 2 goals against Macclesfield. Scored the 2 goals as well. Then we played against Oxford, scored the winner. We won 1-0, scored the winner. Then played against, who else did we play against last? I think Macclesfield, maybe. That's it. Yeah, but anyway, I ended up scoring something like 7 goals in 4 games. That's when I felt that I had arrived really in football. That's when everyone started like taking notice, and I got approached by Scunthorpe. They wanted to sign me from the league above, and I got approached by Shrewsbury as well, and they wanted to sign me as well. So I ended up going to Shrewsbury, the league below, because I felt that they wanted me more. Scunthorpe wanted me to be more of like a cover for, I think, Billy Sharp, or at the time, they wanted me to be a cover for him, and I wasn't really feeling that. I thought I just come out of a season where I banged in 8 goals in 13 games for Chester, and you want me to be So I went to Shrewsbury, and that went really, really well. That's when you came as well, innit? That went really well. I scored like 12 goals and got like 13 assists or something like that and then I got called into the Ghana national team as well. From Chester. Sorry, from Chester, I got called into the Ghana national team after I scored those games for a World Cup qualified friendly, which I was really unlucky not to get into the squad for the World Cup. I made the preliminary. Pardon?
That's crazy, and obviously that's it's not like you're even in the Championship or in the Prem, and you could justify it. It's like you're doing well in the lower leagues, and Ghana's a big international nation.
Bro, at that time, they were rated 14th or 13th in the world. At that time, they had Michael Essien, Stephen Appiah, Montari, Asamoah Gyan, all them mans there, and I was playing for Chester in League 2 at the bottom of the league. And
you're buzzing when you get called up, but like, so what was it like to play? Like, obviously, so you walk in that dressing room now, and we talked earlier. We talked about moving into a dressing room where you don't know anyone. You're now at Chester. You're now in a dressing room with all these big hitters, Sully Montari and Asamoah Gyan and that. Yeah. So you're in there. How did that feel? Because you can only be buzzing, even if you are nervous.
I was. Do you know what? I was. For some reason, all I could see is just money. I'm looking at these guys. All I could see is like dollar signs all on top of all their heads. I'm like, bloody hell. Look, the gap between me and these guys are like in football ability terms. I rated myself alongside them, but in terms of stature, in terms of financial stability, in terms of aura, the aura they had around them there. Do you know what I mean? I felt so little walking to the changing room and just looking around and like thinking, I am out, not football ability wise, but personality wise, personnel wise, I am out of my depth here. What am I doing here?
How did they treat you though? Did they bring you in? How did they treat you? Did they bring you into the group?
They treated me like wonderfully. I was bare nervous because Ghana, we're such friendly people to start with. There's no ego. Like Asamoah Gyan, that multi-millionaire, but he's acting foolish. Like he's on the floor doing stupid dances, and people are making jokes. We dance because Ghana, we dance before every training session. We dance before every match. Like when we're going out for the match, we're singing and dancing and stuff like that. So that is so like relaxing, makes you so relaxing because you feel you walk in the changing room with these big hitters. And there's going to be so much arrogance, and you look at someone, they was like, it was none of that. It was just, the atmosphere was unbelievable. It was just amazing, like looking at these guys and thinking, and it would be like, your legs go weak and stuff like that. I'm thinking before I go on the field, how am I even going to play football with these guys, the level they're at? And I was just like hoping that with my confidence and ability, I can really fit in with them because I always knew I could play at that level, but this is it. This is it. You've seen it on TV. Can you actually do it? So that kind of unknownness was there as well. So I was a bit nervous because of that. But
and you played a handful of games, didn't you? So how did the games go?
My first game was against Nice. That's what my first on. That's when I first got my call up. I think they just done an exhibition game for the World Cup. So that's the first time I played in front of like over even 5,000 fans. That's the first time because they had at least 40 something thousand fans there or something like that. So that was another challenge I had to get through as well. So I played the whole 90 minutes, which was surprising, and I done really, really well. I was unlucky not to score, and everyone was buzzing because it was live on TV in Ghana. You know what I mean? Everyone was like, "Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's the new guy?" And the manager was like, "I want to take you to the World Cup. I really like you. I want to take you to the World Cup." So it was like unbelievable feeling, to be honest.
That's crazy. Did you ever score for him or not?
Yeah. I scored a winner against Gabon, Aubameyang's team. I scored it was 1-1 and half time. The coaches came and dragged Montari off. I said, "Derek, get on the pitch." So I came up, played the whole second half, and in the last minute, I scored a header in the last minute to get 2-1 victory for them. But I was like, for span, it's weird because I only played like 6 times, but that was over like a 10-year period or even a 12-year period. So it was crazy like that. Every new coach that comes in always like calls me up. I'm always in the squads, but sometimes I don't get into the pitch. I was called up loads of times, but I only managed to make like six appearances.
That's amazing, though. That's amazing. And then obviously, so I know you played abroad as well, like so at club level. So you played kind of Lokomotiv, Sofia, Nice, and a couple other clubs as well, like in Asia. So, like, what was it like moving away from your family and playing abroad in like a foreign country? Because I've done it. I played in Iceland, and that was the last team I played for, and I loved it. But again, I've heard different stories from different people. So, how did you find
it? I found, like, to be honest, when I was playing for Chester at the end of the Chester seat before I went to Shrewsbury, after the Nice game, I had an agent approach me and he wanted me to play in the Premier League in Greece for, I think, I can't remember the name of the team, but it was quite a good team. And I turned him down because I was too scared. Not even too scared. I just thought England was where football is. There's playing away from England is like a waste of time. England is football. I want to prove myself here. So I turned it down, which even looking back now, knowing what I know, that was a silly thing to do because that was the top level football, and they had a lot of good teams in that league. You know what I mean? You could have played for that team and then move on to another team. But yeah, I was afraid of going abroad because I thought England was football at the time in 2005 or something. But when I finally did go, I went to Nice, which was absolutely amazing. And then after that, I went to Bulgaria, that's where I had my most successful period in terms of scoring goals and assists and stuff like that. That's when I had my most successful period. But at the same time, that's the place where I needed to battle a lot of demons because it was really tough. It's well documented about the racial problems there, and it was I had to physically battle every day to be up for going training and to even play in the games because it was absolutely horrendous. It was if you think you've seen what they've done with the England team when they go to Bulgaria, just imagine that's the world cameras there, so they're damping it down a bit. But just imagine that times 10 every time you go out on the field. It was like it was crazy, but I don't know how I survived and like had a really productive season there. Hence, that's when I got a big money move to South Korea because I done really well, and there was loads of teams in Europe, and there was loads of teams like back in France, in Germany, in Holland, in loads of teams were chasing, but I ended up going to South Korea because the contract they offered there was the most lucrative, and it made the most sense, especially when I've just turned 31 at the time. So it was really good deal for me to go there. And yeah, what else? So I stayed there. I stayed in South Korea I stayed in Bulgaria for a year and a half. Then I went to South Korea for 3 years. That was unbelievable. It was like, going from one extreme to the next.
Yeah. I mean, not only from a footballing perspective to play abroad, but also from like a life perspective, because you get to see other cultures. You're mixing with like people who you're probably not going to be familiar with and probably won't ever see again. And I always when I was in Iceland, it could have been easy for me to just stay in my apartment, in my studio, and just not do anything. But like, this is a time for me when I didn't have an iPhone. I had a BlackBerry at the time. I had my laptop, so maybe speak to family on Skype and that. But I would just go out, and luckily for me, there was a few kind of UK-based players over there who I was already familiar with anyway. So we'd just link up together and we'd just go around and just go sightseeing, and family came over and that. So I tried to utilize that. Luckily for me over there, everyone spoke English, everyone was welcoming. I didn't have any kind of racial issues like you came across when you were in Bulgaria. So it was all very, very friendly for me, and that just made it a lot easier. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously disappointing when you hear a story like that, where you've got an opportunity to go and play abroad, but then obviously there cultural differences and kind of primitive thoughts and things like that. That must have been really hard to deal with. But yeah, I mean, I remember when you were out there and we spoke briefly, like via text and that. And I remember because literally every week you were scoring, it was ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, commend you for that. Obviously, you did really well. But in terms of just gonna like come to a close now. Obviously, at the start we were talking about like your retirement process, transition, and obviously what you think in terms of what help's needed for players or athletes in general. But kind of, is there any advice that you give to kind of any player? And I'm talking anyone from like a young age up to kind of anyone that's kind of mid-end or back end of their careers. Any advice that you'd give to help them with regard to their retirement process?
100%. What I would say is that always have a passion outside football. Do you know what I mean? Because football is not everything. I went into football thinking football is like everything. Football is going to solve all my problems. Football, which it did to a certain degree. But it's so important to do your research, because in football we get so much free time. We get so much free time, and like in my case, I don't know about you, I spent 90% of it sleeping. Do you know what I mean? 90% after training, I'll sleep till about 6 and wake up, eat, do the same thing, repeat. But there's so many hours. Yeah, there's so many. Literally, I come back from training finished at, let's say, 12 o'clock or 1. Say 1 o'clock. You're at home. You had lunch. You're at home. I would just go either stay home, play PlayStation, fall asleep on the sofa watching TV or whatever, and then have dinner. Then you know what I mean. Go to bed and repeat the same thing again. But there's so many, like, just have something. I'm not saying it's to be a backup for if football don't work, but have something alongside it where you can transition into it after your career, whether it's going university, whether it's going, because a lot of time people think when they become footballers, they just shoulders high, that's it. My life goes. I don't need to do it, but like I said, so much time. Go college, go university, do something, whether even if it's within football, even if it's media, even if it's physiotherapy, even if, I'm not saying you're going to be a physiotherapist when you're finished, like massaging other players. That's not what you're into. But you can own a company that does that. You can own a company that sells products or to football clubs, and because you're in football, you've got an advantage ahead of a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? You might have a good following, or you got the network to connect dots with whatever you want to do. You got a head start than the average person. So utilize that. Do something alongside it. I don't know what it is, but find out what you're really interested in, what you really want to do, and just educate yourself on it. And just do it alongside football. You would enjoy it. It won't be a distraction. You would enjoy it, and it will help you even perform better on the pitch, because you know that you're working towards, and every spare change you have, maybe put it aside, maybe till you have enough money to start a little business with it or whatever. But my advice is to start something from the get-go. Whatever you're interested in, tap into it and really like try and make a career out of it as well alongside football.
That's brilliant. And obviously you mentioned you're into properties and that's brilliant. You've obviously got a clothesline, so just let people know the name of the clothesline, where they can obviously buy it, and obviously where we can find you on social media as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can find me on social media at Derek Asamoah on my Instagram, and it's exactly the same for my Facebook. And the clothing line you can find at freshballerz.com. What else? I'm also on YouTube with my boys, my 3 boys that play football, my 3 sons, at Fresh Ballerz on YouTube as well. So you can find us doing like little challenges, little games, and talking sometimes serious about football, about my experience and about their experience, trying to break into football as well. So you can check that out as well.
Awesome. Appreciate your time today. Obviously, good catching up. Keep in touch. I'll send you my address and that. I won't forget. But yeah, really appreciate your time. We'll catch up soon anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
No problem, mate. Stay safe.
I hope I've helped people out there, and I hope. Yeah. So thank
100%,
you.
100%. Yeah. You only need to help one person. That's what I always say. Just one person.
Yeah.
Job done.
Yeah.
No worries, bro. Speak soon.
All right. Speak soon.
Take care.